harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zimet.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Beverly Zimet Show, where being the best you can be has just gotten easier. My guest today is calling in from South Africa. Her name is Janine Shapiro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
So what does Miss Janine do down there in South Africa?
Well, I am a mindset alchemist, and I basically help people rediscover themselves and move away from living shall we say, a life of quiet desperation and frustration towards their actual beingness of themselves. And I do this through helping them understand what their thoughts, their words, and their feelings have to do with their actions, what they create in their life, and how to step forward beyond that, so that, you know, that feeling of stuckness?
Yes.
They can to being unstoppable.
Wow, go from unstuck to unstoppable. That sounds cool, right? That sounds cool. And a lot of things what you're saying there are really similar to some of the stuff that I do with clients and things as well. It's just coming from a different direction, right? And it's always fascinating, you know, with people on the show here is to find what direction do they take people down. And it's always interesting to see all the little different, you know, avenues, and because people relate differently with other people, right? And so if something that you're doing or saying triggers someone that says, oh my gosh, Janine, you get me. You get me.
Yes.
I like how you're doing this, you know, and that's what it's all about. Right? Or they may say, you know, say that same thing to someone else. But it's that opportunity to give people the options of choice. And that's kind of what this show is all about. Being that best you that you can be is also giving people opportunities and options to connect with someone that gets them. Someone that maybe says, you know, just one word or one phrase that changes their life. And you mentioned, you know, earlier that, you know, in what you do there, you know, like a word. One word in a sentence can just mean something completely different than what the person is speaking it has the intention for it to mean. Because of culture, because of belief, right? Even tone of voice, right? Have you found that to be true? When people start to get on the defense, it's like, okay, what word did I say that triggered that?
Very, very much so. And as a healer, that is what I do, is I help trigger people, at most times unknowingly, so that they can go, oh, where was that trigger? What was that trigger? What was that trigger from? And how do I heal through it? Basically, I hold a mirror up for people with words, as you so very rightly say, with emotions and with silence. And I allow them to see the mirror, and then they go, I don't like you. However, the bottom line is, they may not like what I'm offering. They are seeking the healing. Right. And somebody the other day said to me, that's why you trigger people all the time, because you're a healer. And I went, okay, I thought it was just me.
You know, there's so much truth in that, you know, and it like it becomes automatic, you know, and I've had that happen, never thought of it the way you just put it, you know, in a group of people, even with family members, you know, and when we all get together or something, you know, and all of a sudden you say something and somebody goes off and you're thinking, what the heck? What did I just say? What made you just go off, right?
Yeah. Or sometimes people will say, you're looking at me funny. And I say, I wasn't actually looking at you. What came up for you that you thought I was looking at you in a specific manner, and let's go backwards and see what came forwards, and let's see how we can leave it in the back and you can move forward.
Right.
Uh, and I love what you say about the tone of voice, because yes, that triggers people quite a lot. It's like, I was smiling at you. How did you get that out of a smile? And
Right.
yes, that's part of growth.
It is, people don't realize that they respond by tone, right? I mean, there's a lot of different modalities out there, different healing modalities that are all about sound, right? That sound therapy. Well, speaking is very much sound therapy, right? You've got your body language, which is also key, the words that you speak and how you profess them, but the tone of the voice, that gives it away every time, right?
Totally. And I'm so glad you mentioned body language, because often when I sit with my clients, even if it's on a Zoom, I will say to them, may I share something? And they either say yes or no. And I say, through your body language, this is what you are presenting towards me. I also use, Beverly, and I'm sure you do as well. When I'm speaking with people, I'll ask them, where did you feel that in your body? Because
Yes,
when we get triggered, our body has a language of its own, and through understanding that
right,
amazing language of what the body is saying, not just the body language, but the, oh, my shoulder's sore. Well, whose burden are you carrying? Where are you taking on responsibility? Where are you choosing to step out of your planning side? Where are you choosing to
right,
out of your stepping forward side? And it's just, to me, so as you said, there's so many different modalities and so many different ways depending on the person. It's
right.
just so incredibly powerful how we are put together and we present ourselves. And that's why I truly believe there's so many different modalities, because what one person may offer may not be a creative space for you to heal now,
Right.
whereas somebody else is creating a space for you to be creative within that space and heal.
Right. There's so much depth to all of that, like what you say. I teach a class on reading the body language, right? Which is
Oh,
really kind of cool. With the physical movements, is like I say, where do you feel that emotion? Where does that emotion hit you? So when we're working with rewiring the old and taking it out, is where does it hit you? Does it hit you in your gut? Does it hit you in your head? Does it hit you in your big toe? It doesn't matter where it's at. Where are you feeling that emotion? Because that's where it has to be removed from first, right? And
yes,
getting into that.
absolutely.
And like you say, it stores different emotions, store in different organs. Like anger stores in the liver, bitterness stores in your gallbladder and in your pancreas. Fears over there in the kidneys. So you've got all of these words and all of these emotions that store in different avenues of the body. So when a response comes up with that reflection, as you put it, it's like, where do you feel it? you know
Yes,
yeah, or
yes,
where do you see it? If they're not a touchy feeling person, they're not in the kinetics, right? Is where do you see that in your body,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or where do they hear
hear
it?
it exactly.
What are they hearing it? Do they hear it in the front? Do they hear it at the back, the sides? And not only that, what this, I don't know why I'm being led to speak, well, I do know why, but whoever this is for, very often we give our body commands that we're not even aware of, like, oh, I don't remember, or oh, people won't like me, or, and then the
Right,
body presents and creates space for that as well to happen. And all of a sudden you can't remember, or things happen within you that people are, ooh, energy wise and that.
right,
And for me, that is so powerful when you can recognize, what is the body saying? What am I saying to myself? What is Beverly saying in her voice to me that is me speaking through Beverly back to myself? And clients get quite upset sometimes when I say to them, um, could you consider maybe that what that person was saying is you speaking through them so that you can hear it in another voice.
Yeah, they don't
And
like that,
like
do they?
no, and it comes back to tone, exactly what you were saying.
Right.
It's to shift the tone, that somebody else's voice they'll hear more easily. They may not enjoy it, but they will hear it, and how
Right.
to step forward, and how that impacts their business, how that impacts their relationships, how it impacts their life.
Oh, so true. Very well said. Very, very well said. And, we are that mirror of one another. We reflect all the time. So when you see something in someone that you don't like, it's time to turn
Yes,
that around and say, is that really their stuff? Are they trying to tell me a message, right? Is there a reflection in
yes,
here? And really study that, and don't think that you're beyond that, because it's all those little things like that that help, and sometimes admitting the truth doesn't taste good, doesn't smell good, doesn't feel good, doesn't sound good, right? It just doesn't. But when you can get past it, I think Janine and I both can say it's worth it getting through it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I often ask people, what is the difference between gratitude and appreciation? May I put you on the spot and ask you that, because it does apply to what you've just said?
Gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude is that being thankful for an outcome, being thankful that someone is present with you, or just being thankful for what is in your world. And appreciation is the appreciation would be, I guess the appreciation would be grateful to appreciate someone's ability to shine and to be an expression of something that you need to clean up, right? Something that you didn't recognize. So they're helping you recognize something that's going to put you in the position to become that better you. So you can appreciate, you might not like it, but you can
Yes,
appreciate it, right?
yes, that's awesome. You're actually the very first person ever to answer this. Normally, people just like go like this. The bottom line is we're not always grateful for what we appreciate,
Right.
and it's what adds value to our life. When we
Yes.
appreciate something, it's a lesson or it's something that has added value to our life. Whereas gratitude, I always use the analogy, my son blessed a friend with a book. He said, thank you for the book. He expressed gratitude for the book. However, he never ever picked that book up. He did not appreciate the value of the gift and allow it to add
Right.
value to his life. And to me, that was just such a profound example. And thank you for putting it so beautifully. I always say to people, I am not always grateful for what I appreciate.
Oh, this is true. Or you don't always appreciate what you should be saying I grateful for, right? You just say you deny
Exactly.
it, and you all of a sudden you go on the rebound and say, no way. Right? It's interesting that it came up in this conversation, because earlier this morning I was talking with my partner, and because we're putting people on board and delegating them, where their assets are. And, so not only knowing their assets, but knowing where their detriments are, their weaknesses and things, because that helps you to put them in a position where they can start to really shine, right? And he said something to me. He says, Beverly, I know your weakness. And I says, go for it, right? And he made a few comments, and at first I wanted to see myself go on the defense, and it's like, no, that's not the reaction you're going to give here, right? And to be able to, as you said, appreciate. And I actually used that word this morning, right? I said, you're right. I'm getting better though, and I appreciate you saying this to me, because it helps me also to recognize, to know that this is more of what I need to continue to do here, because I do overload my plate, right? I take a lot of that responsibility on myself, and it's learning how to delegate, but delegating to those that you can trust to get it done, right? In
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily your way, but in a manner that's going to be, the outcome is going to give you the same,
Yes.
and to do it in a respectful amount of time, and not just put it off till whatever. And so I sometimes I put things on my plate that are irrelevant, and it's like, And so I kind of set it aside, and then I start picking things off in priority. So my partner says to me, he says, just throw that on the floor. He says, throw that plate on the floor and only pick up the thing that is the most priority and leave the rest lay. And it's like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, I can do this. Only one thing? Oh my God. Okay. So it really, so I appreciate it. I didn't like some of the things he was saying, but I appreciated it to be able to recognize that. So, and I never really actually heard it put that way before, what is the difference between appreciation and gratitude? And that's powerful. So I hope all you guys out there listening are starting to see, where are you grateful and where are you appreciative, right? Because they really are different. They really are. Yeah. So thank you, for bringing that in, because, oh my gosh, that's really a key here. That's key. If you don't get anything out of this conversation besides the difference between appreciation and gratitude, then it was worth listening to, right?
Absolutely, totally. And often our partners are the ones who can bring it to us because they're the closest to us.
Right.
Have you ever read, I can't remember who wrote it, I can remember, I'm just not recalling right now, The One Thing, the book The One Thing. And
no, I haven't.
Exactly. It's actually a very interesting.
I might have to write that one down. The One Thing. The One Thing.
Awesome. Yes. And the mantra that came out of this for me was, what is the one thing I can do now or do today that will make everything else effortless or unnecessary? And it's in choosing that one thing to focus on at this point in time, at this moment. And it's when clients come to me and they want to fix this, and this, and this. And I say, okay, what is the one thing you would really like to move forward from? Yeah, but this, and this, and this. What is the one thing? Because 99.9% of the time, A, they don't understand the one thing, or B, they've never thought of what is the actual underlying challenge that is being brought to them to fix, to move forward from. And like you so rightly said, which part of their body is singing the loudest song? And let's go to the quietest one, because that is where the problem is.
That's where it lies. That's where it all begins. And I think that's a lot of things that we forget about, that it all has a beginning point, right? And if you don't pull it up from the root, it's going to grow back, right? So everything comes up out of the ground, and it blooms, it gets bigger, and there's all kinds of branches and leaves and flowers and everything else. And if you look at the root isn't just usually one straight, it's got all these little feelers off of it, right? Some more than others, so it buries itself and it digs in deep, right? But if you don't get to where that seed was planted, you're never going to get the root, and you're never going to get all the upper parts. And if you just cut it off, the root says, hey, we got to get stronger here, we're being invaded. And then it gets thicker and heavier and bigger, so when you understand how that grows in your cell memory, how those emotions, that old database of information that was your truth back then. And again, when I take people through the little avenues, it's first that recognition. And then it's the acknowledging that it's the truth.
Yes.
Because the subconscious does not want to release it unless it's right. That's that little part of you that says, I'm always right. That's on the defense. It's your fight-flight mechanism, right? And that subconscious is so powerful. But, then people say, but Beverly, I don't believe that. I get that. You don't believe that now. However, when you planted the seed, that was your truth. It's a false truth now because the database has changed. But the subconscious doesn't know that. It only goes by how the seed was planted. So when you can tell the subconscious, you're right. Okay, that's my truth. Then it calms down. Now you can have a conversation and say, that was old database. You know what? There's all this real new stuff, and you sugarcoat it. It's like, here's the old candy bar, here's the new candy bar, right? And the subconscious then will give you the old stuff so that you can put in the new stuff, right?
Yes.
But you've got to have that acknowledgement, right?
That is so important. It really, really is. Another great book your audience might be interested in is The Upper Limit Problem by Gay Hendricks.
Mm,
And he absolutely also speaks exactly what you are saying, that it's to go back to that initial root, and that what it is. And this, I saw this in my clients. I've worked with this in my own life and with my clients, and I didn't realize the wording for it until I read his book, that people do not feel that they can have joy and peace in every single area in their life.
right.
And so when they have joy and peace in their relationships, something goes wrong in their business. When something's going right in their business or in their vocation or their work, then their relationship suffers. Whereas it's just an upper limit problem. And I really enjoyed what he was saying when you say, what's your, oh, what is your, oh, because people are not prepared to recognize
Right.
where did it stem from? What is that, as you so beautifully put it, what is that former programming? And what people don't always understand is that when you are reprogramming, you have to pull out the foundations to put in new foundations. And people
Exactly.
go, I made the decision to be better and my life fell apart. No, your life didn't fall apart. What you did was you were pulling out the foundations so that you could build a better home.
Right.
You can't build, I don't know about in the States, but here we have brick homes. And so you have to have a very solid foundation if you're going to have a two-story home. You cannot build a two-story home on a one-story foundation, because it's just going to go and collapse. It's going to
Right.
crack and not be sustained. And as people want to start putting 2 and 3 story homes, you actually have to rip out the foundations and put in new ones. And that is where people are living lives of quiet desperation and of absolute frustration, because they feel as though their lives are falling apart. And they haven't been empowered to look at it and say, is it falling apart, or am I putting in new foundations? Which is heavy, which is light? Maybe I would like to do it that I completely move house altogether. No, I'm not saying they must die. What I'm saying is that they just look at the
It's a good
situation
thing you
and
clarified that, right?
that, yes, they would like to keep this relationship. Let's trash all the past and dig completely new ones. Let's
Right.
start from the beginning, even though you're continuing. So it's a continuation, but with a beginning. Does that make sense? Does that
It yes,
resonate?
it really does. It really does. I love your speaking in analogies because I use them myself a lot, and I think that helps people in general understand things when you can talk in analogies, especially things that you can relate to. And I mean, you go back in time, in civilizations and everything, and even back to the Bible where it says, when you're going to build your foundation, you can't build it on rocky ground, right? And where did you
Right,
plant your
absolutely.
seeds, right? Right? And so
Yes,
focus and stay in your lane.
yes,
And what are the seeds
yes.
stay in your lane. What are the seeds that you're planting? What is your foundation? If you build a house and then you decide to put it on a foundation, that's a little too late, because sometimes you might want to just grab the first foundation possible, and then, like you say, it sinks or it tips over, right?
Mm,
So build a foundation. And again, the foundation that you built as a child coming up in life, you built that foundation on what you could relate with, on your surroundings, on your environment, and on, some of it comes through your DNA, and on the people that you associated yourself with. Well, times have changed. We don't just kind of grow up in the same arena anymore. The ability to leave where you grew up, your roots, shall we say, right? And there's a reason why they call it your roots, because now you're moving further away. You're in different parts of the world. I mean, just look at where we are. You're in South Africa, and I'm sitting here in Denver. but we're right here together, right? And that's different. So you start uprooting yourself. That foundation that you built back then is not the same foundation you're going to build wherever it is that you're relocating yourself, relocating your beliefs, because now you're going to be filled with a database of more information. So you change a lot of things on the exterior, but we forget about the interior.
Yes.
Right? And so you need to really start looking inside, and this whole pandemic thing being kind of confined in an interior. Now it's time to look inside in the interior you. It's not always pretty in there, like we mentioned earlier, right? But again, what is the roots of where you come from? What are those truths that are no longer truth that need to be uprooted, right? And the new database put in, because it's that comfort zone. And I talk a lot about comfort zone because you can be miserable and in your comfort zone, so you're miserably comfortable. And why do people don't like to move out of that comfort zone? Is because they have to make a change. People don't like change. Why don't they like change? Because change is unpredictable.
Yes.
So your comfort zone is your predictability, right?
They also don't always have the vocabulary for it. And a lot of our life is built on language. It's so interesting you mentioned comfort zone, because I did about 4 lives today on comfort zone. So many times people come to us and they say they want to go from A to Z, and they don't understand that to go from A to Z, they don't have the foundation, they don't have the skills, and they don't have the vocabulary to sustain themselves at Z. Whereas if they go from A to B, even C, they're moving slightly out of their comfort zone. They can adapt, they can change without being fearful of it. It's still enough within their comfort zone that fear doesn't pop up. And as they embody that and they get used to those skills and tools, they then can go to E and F, maybe even leave out D. However, it's to know that it's a process. And I love what you say there, because as you have, I'm sure, when you work with trauma victims, their entire foundation is built upon the trauma.
Oh gosh,
and if you carry on building upon that trauma foundation, trying to fix it here instead of going and if I can say, rewriting the story for them, to give them power back, to give them their power back from the trauma, and obviously from a physiological level to release the trauma from the cells, from the psyche, from the spirit, because it's not just one thing. Wow, it makes an unbelievable difference. And I'm sure you're aware this is a year of foundation. And that is why change is a given this year, and not always in the way we enjoy. We may appreciate it in 10 years' time. We are not grateful for it currently. And because it's a year of foundation, traumas are being triggered, things are being triggered, and change is huge.
Well, there's
to redo it.
That change and transformation as well, right?
Yes.
So Shireen, what is the difference in your description from that, right? Change, transformation.
Change is as you step forward. You choose to shift position. When you transform, you change your form. You literally reshape your thoughts, your words, your feelings, your life. However, you cannot transform if you are not prepared to step forward in the vibration of change. And as you change, you are recognizing, oh, maybe we need to chuck that out. What form do I take once I have moved from this to this? Who do I be? Who do I become? Because that's transformation. And then you add transmutation to it, where you take from the transformation and you become somebody completely you're in the same body, but you're a completely different persona, a completely different person. And it's that initial change, it's the process of transformation. And then transformation becomes the process of transmutation to have the flourishing, the creation, and the empowering embodiment of what you began in the process of change as you changed form to change being.
That's very well said. I had someone mention this a while back, like a week ago, and she was talking about the change and transformation, right? Because she was a transformation coach. And change, when change reaches that point of transformation, now it's set in stone, so to speak. If you don't create a transformation, change gives you the ability and the reason and the excuse to go backwards. Once you've created transformation, you can't go back. Now it's completely different, So if you find yourself going back into those old habits, you haven't made a transformation, right?
Exactly. Your form hasn't changed. I
Right.
love that.
Yeah.
And that is why I say to people, I can see you here at Z. However, I can't lift you there. It's to move that one step at a time within the change so that you don't slip back, so that you are able
Exactly.
to embody that
Yeah.
change, to create that transformation. Because I have seen it so many times. People, I'm not doing this. I'm going to, let me think of an analogy. I'm never going to lose my temper again. Really? Give me 10 minutes. I'll trigger you that you'll have a temper tantrum of immense proportions because it's a step by step by
Right.
step. Oh, this is how I control it. This is how I focus it. How I take, not control it. This is how I take control of the emotion, the energy in motion, and I direct it in a better path and way. I'm able to transform that anger
Right.
and allow it to change to become determination, drive, allow it to become focus, and choose to embody it as a way of change to effect the transformation,
Right.
to bring in the transmutation. And that's why people all have a shadow side. We all get annoyed. We all
Yes, we
get what's in
do.
it. We may not express it the way, we may not express it in public. However, we all have these things.
Well, we
And
internalize it. A lot of people internalize all of that, and that's why things in the body run amok. As we spoke,
yes,
early at the beginning of this conversation, where those emotions are stored and why those things go wrong in your body, right?
yes. I have a thought process that if your body starts speaking to you, you'd better listen
That's a
because
wake
it
up call.
starts, it's a wake up call. You have the whisper, you have the nudge, you have people coming to bring you forward. And when your body starts speaking or you go into dis-ease or discomfort, you better wake up because the next step is one you are really seriously not going to enjoy.
That's exactly right. You talked about trauma and how to start changing that story because that trauma was such an impact that it's like taken over everything prior to, and that's become your life now because it was that dramatic. So a lot of times when I work with people, I like to move them back prior to the trauma. Well, what was life without that? Once they start talking and becoming an expression of what that life was without it, it's like, okay, would you like to have parts of that life again without it? Oh, that would be so much better and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, so let's just we kind of look at like a sandwich, right? So here's the bottom bread, and here's the top bread. So this is the now going into the future, and the bottom piece is your past and what it once was, and in between is the trauma. How about we take the sandwich apart and take what's in that sandwich and incinerate it so that it can transmute itself. Now let's put inside that sandwich what you want, and it makes a transformation really fast because it takes it all at once instead of taking layer by layer. because they are
Absolutely.
so ready to get rid of it. They don't even want to think about it anymore. They're so over it, but they've built that sandwich has gotten so thick that okay, then let's just let's get rid of it all because we can, right?
Yes, we can.
And again, when you can watch them not just go into the change but go into that transformation, you know they're not going to slip back into the pieces what was inside that sandwich, you know, and then clean up the debris and whatever that takes place. And that's what makes what we do so much fun. And again, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way, it's where you started. We begin to do and uncover and turn our lives into what becomes our passion from what we were overcoming. Because I would never ask a client to do something that I haven't already done. Right?
Yes.
If I learn a new modality or I see a different version of some of the things, you know, it's like, I'm going to use them on myself to see what kind of results I get before I ask someone else to do that, right? And sometimes you can, you know, you get a little tidbit over here and something over here, something you're already doing, and it's like, wow, if I added this and this, it would make this so much more powerful, so much more faster, right? And so we learn not only from each other's challenges, because I don't like to call them mistakes, but challenges, right? And we can also learn from others' assets, from others' transformations, from their ways of doing things. You know, so it's not always your way. That's the best way. And being open to that and start seeing, you know, little bits and pieces that relate to you, that are relevant to you, that trigger, you know, something's like, now that has meaning. That has relevance. I need to incorporate that. It's just like what you said earlier today. I'm going to incorporate what's the difference between appreciation and gratitude. I love that. Right? So
Well, likewise, I'm going to use your change and transformation. Beverly, one of the things that I really, really use is I use a journal and a pen and a lighter. And I get people that sandwich in between. Don't tell me how you feel about it, and don't tell me how it will feel without it. And let us burn it. And that
yes.
actual burning of it and seeing it transmuting into smoke. And just people just have this absolute, their hearts just open when they
Oh
have
yes. Yeah. That transformation, that transmutation, you know, that burning is unbelievable. And that's why if I don't have them right, and a lot of times I don't, it just depends on the person. But just the thought of it, just, you know, everything that has came in, anytime we're releasing anything, I always have them have their incinerator so that they can visualize, you know, make this incinerator nice big flame so that everything you're letting go of, you're just dumping into that incinerator because it's that form and you can feel the heat, you can see the heat, you know, it's just so real. But yeah, writing it down, you know, because now you're getting it out, you're using all your senses as well, you know, when you're doing that. And then to burn it and to watch it go up in smoke, it really is a transformation. It really is.
And then a part many people forget to do. So I'm just asking your audience, please remember this. Put a pin in the tail of this so it stays in your memory. After it's transmuted, write the story of what you feel you would love to have. Bring in love, bring in hope,
Nice.
bring in joy, bring in appreciation, bring in gratitude, because that then gives you a much more delicious filling between the
Right.
bread.
Exactly.
And there isn't dead space.
You're right. Energy doesn't like dead space, as you just put it, right? You know, you've got to put something back in there. You've got to fill it up because if you don't, the first thing that's going to come, because we live in a negative world, there's billions more negative thoughts and things flying around that it'll jump in. I have a little, what I call the rah-rah system when I work with someone. So it's recognize, and then there's that acknowledgement, and then the release,
Yes.
and then the replace. What you just said, the replace.
Beautiful.
And then
Yes,
the acceptance,
beautiful.
you know, so you accept that new, database,
Yes.
So always, that is so critical. Thank you for adding that, Jameen, because it's key. Make sure you
Yes.
replace it with I am powerful, I am happy, I am, whatever it is.
Yes.
Fill it up. Just fill it up. And if you have to keep repeating I am loved, I am loved, I am loved, it's okay. Just fill up that hole so that something that you don't want is going to come back in. So that's very critical. It
Absolutely.
is very critical, yes.
Yeah, no, it is. It's vital for life. I honestly have seen it over and over. And when people, sometimes, they're not in they haven't been reminded of it. And
Right.
then you know what? It's just very simple. Rejournal, as you say, release and let it go and replace it at that point.
Yep.
Because that is how you begin to embody it and allow the feelings that are slightly high vibration. So a lot of people don't understand. You can't, without practice, without, as you so correctly said, without that transformation, move from sadness to joy. It's that going from A to Z. It's to work our way up that spiral. And it can take you seconds with practice, or it might take you maybe 1 or 2 hours, a little bit of journaling, a few tears, and then you bring in the joy. And you
Right.
choose the joy, and you experience the joy, and you bring in that energy of the joy. Because nothing is right, nothing is wrong. It's just what makes you feel greater.
And that's being that better you. I like the way you said that, because I always say that too. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. There's is. And it's your is that counts. Nobody else's is matters. Your is what matters, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that is what is so incredibly powerful about what we are able to offer people.
Right. What is one more thing, just one thing you'd like to leave the audience with today?
Live your dream. Live your dream. And to live your dream, why? Go seek your dream, because it can change, it can morph, it expands. It doesn't have to be one fixed thing. You can take a snippet here and a snippet there. Choose to live your life being you, not being somebody else's version of you.
Thank you. That is so true, because a lot of times we end up living our life the way we think everybody else wants us to live it. Well, you know what? Everybody else is thinking the same thing, so quit thinking that same thing and just be you, right? So, thank you, Jameen, for being here. Oh my gosh, it's like, it's been a treat. The information's been great. It's like, wow, where did the time fly? So comment down here below. Let us know what you liked about the conversation here today, and if Jameen can help you, reach out to her. Private message. What's the best way to get a hold of you besides private messaging? I think you mentioned you're on LinkedIn.
I'm
Right.
on LinkedIn, but I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram, and it's Janine Kathleen with a K. So if you
Okay.
look for Janine Kathleen Shapiro or Janine Kathleen with a K on LinkedIn, and on Instagram, it's Janine underscore Kathleen, and my website, JanineKathleen.com. But Facebook, you normally find me.
Yeah, that's her name. That's how you find her. And we'll put that name up on top so you can see it, right? So, Janine, thank you so much again for being here. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And it's time to go out there and say it's being that best you that you could be today, because Janine and I are going to be the best we that we can be. And thank you all for watching the show, and we'll see you on the next show. Bye bye.